So welcome. I'm Catherine, and the other presenter is Donna,
Hi, I'm Donna.
who you may or may not see. I don't know. The first thing I'm going to do actually is disable people's video and um, and mute you, just because there are enough of us that ambient noise from 10 different microphones could make some trouble. That doesn't mean that we don't want you to talk. So I have opened up the chat. Now, many of you are probably not that familiar with WebEx. If you just move your cursor over your screen, a bunch of icons will pop up on the bottom. And those icons will include like a little microphone and a video, and one of them is a speech bubble. Click on the speech bubble, a chat panel will come up on the right hand side, and then you can send us notes. You can send other participants notes. You can send questions or comments to the participants, to the presenters, or to the whole group. It's probably easier if you just do it to the whole group, unless there's something that you want to say. Okay. Now everybody is learning about all of this technology. You were here at the very beginning. You might have heard Donna talking to me about this was her first web seminar, and it is my first web seminar. So you may need to be a little forgiving if we have technical difficulties. Web access looks good at the moment, and I do have a backup network if something terrible happens, but ask for your patience. We're going to start by Donna's going to go through our process for you. I mean, to back up just a bit, we decided we needed to offer this workshop because as reference went online, we started getting questions from the community. The question we got more than any other question was, I need access to X book. You know, we have this book in the stacks, but I can't find it as an electronic book, or the electronic access that we're supposed to have isn't working for me, or whatever. So the first thing that we did was create for ourselves a bunch of avenues to try to find access for people. Then we publicized that as a sort of ebook detective agency, and that proved to be immensely popular, so popular that we can't really keep up with it. We're doing our best, but it's hard. So then the logical next step was to share what we've learned with the GC community. So here we are. Donna's going to take you through basics of what we've learned. Then I will show you live how we do it. I'll go through some searches, and hopefully that won't be too disastrous. I will then, so I'm going to pass this to Donna. Wait, no, I did that completely wrong. Donna, you were the presenter. I have to pass it back to you.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Up here. All right. Close the chat. Now I can do it. Here we are. Technical difficulty right away. Sorry.
Okay, I've got a presenter.
Now Donna is ready to go.
All right, I'm attempting to share my screen. Can everybody see the the opening slide again of the Finding ebook Access in a Shifting World? Okay, great, thank you.
Unmuting. Sir?
All right, see that?
Good. Great. Thank you for.
All right. And hopefully there won't be any technical difficulties, but Catherine sent out the slide deck ahead of time. So if for some reason the video goes out, you can look on your own computers, you can follow that slideshow along, and I will just talk with the screenshots that are in that in the slides. But what hopefully that won't happen. And what I'm going to do is show you our ebook collections guide and talk briefly about the resources that have been made temporarily available to us. A bunch of publishers, academic presses, and database vendors have made their content temporarily open while the coronavirus closures are ongoing. I'm going to show you a few of the platforms we found useful, and these are the tools that we've been using to help people find ebooks while print books are unavailable. And then, as we said, Catherine's going to demo some ebook searches, and hopefully there will be time so that you can try it yourself. And our goal is to familiarize you with some of the resources so that you'll have the tools to go out and find ebooks while print collections are not accessible. So let's talk about how you would get started. All right, so this is the library's homepage. And as with any research project, it's really a good idea to begin your research right here on the library's homepage. The URL is library.gc.cuny.edu. And you see that mustard yellow banner up at the top. And that will take you to a page which lists all the online services that are available while the actual physical library is closed. And just so you know, we're still offering reference services. Your subject librarians are still available and they can do virtual research consultations with you. We're having online workshops like this one and a bunch of others. And Interlibrary Loan is still operating, and you can get journal articles and single chapters of books. But right now we're just going to talk about ebooks. And ordinarily, if you were looking for a book on any topic, whether it's a print book or an ebook, you would start looking at OneSearch, which you can see in the center of the screen here. This box is for OneSearch. And personally, I like to use the advanced search feature. And I like that because you can use limits, like I can narrow it down to just the Graduate Center. I can choose just title, and I can add an author and creator and look for just books. And that will mean I'll get many fewer results, but they will be more relevant results. So when you're looking for an ebook, the first thing to do is go right here, do a search for the book to see if we already have it as an ebook. And if we do, all you have to do is log in with your GC Network credentials to access the full text. So that's in an ideal world if we have the ebook. But if we don't have the ebook at the Graduate Center, you can check WorldCat. And WorldCat has records for millions and millions of books and other items, but not all ebooks are cataloged in WorldCat. But as you look at the results there, you'll be able to make an educated decision, an educated guess as to whether it is likely that an ebook exists or not. And Catherine will show you that when she demos the searches. And of course, you have to remember that not every print book has an ebook equivalent. Sometimes the best you can get is a limited preview in Google Books. But if it seems likely that a book does exist as an ebook, the next step is figuring out where you can access the full text. And the key to doing that is when you're looking at the record for a book, you want to see who the publisher is and the year of publication. Recently published books might be available electronically directly from publishers, say Cambridge or Oxford or whatever publisher it is, or in ebook platforms like RedShelf. And older titles might have been scanned as part of a retrospective scanning project, and they might be available within a database like JSTOR, HathiTrust, or the Internet Archive. And so that brings us to our ebook collections guide. And now I'm going to switch from slides to live searching, so hopefully this will work. All right, so far so good. All right, so this is a very, very helpful guide for seeing all the various collections of ebook that we have at the Graduate Center. And you can find it from the library's homepage. You can go to the homepage, then click on research guides, and then on ebook collections.
Donna?
Yeah, sorry.
We can't see your screen, actually.
Okay.
We went from showing the slide to going gray.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Let me try to search to share the web browser. Okay.
Yes, we can see it now.
Great.
All right. Hang on. Thank you. Okay. Are you seeing the library's homepage?
Yes.
Yep, indeed.
Okay, great. All right, thank you for pointing that out and keep me on track here in case anything happens. Thank you. So here we are at the library's homepage again. And then to get to our ebooks guide, you would scroll down and search for research guides. And then we have about 79 guides here, and then scroll down again until you see ebook collections. And then here we are. All right. And Jill, your video is on. I don't know if you know that. So you can, all right. So here we are back at the ebook guide. So this, in ordinary circumstances, this is a very helpful guide to see all of the ebook resources that we have. But now when libraries everywhere are closed and we don't have access to print books, this guide has become indispensable. This is the one place where you can access ebooks from all the different databases and platforms that we temporarily have access to. And if you scroll down to this box right here, works open due to COVID-19, you will see a list of resources, and they all have an orange box that says trial next to them. And these are the new resources with temporarily accessible content. And our electronic resources librarian has done an amazing job setting up access to all of these resources for us. These temporarily available ebooks have not been, that you'll find in these resources, they have not been added to OneSearch, and they're not going to be because we only have access to them temporarily. So that to get access to the this special content that's temporarily available, you have to go through this guide and use the links that are on these for these resources. So going back a step, once you know the publisher of a book and you know the date of publication and you're pretty sure that an ebook exists somewhere, what you do is you browse through the resources in this guide, pick out the ones that seem most likely to contain your ebook, and then you'll either have to log in with your GC Network credentials or set up a free account using your GC email address to search for the book. And then up a little bit further on the screen, there is a box titled Roundups of COVID-19 Content. And in this box, there are links to some helpful tools for figuring out where to look for particular ebooks. I'm going to click on the first one called Public Books Database. And this has a list of academic publishers. So you scroll down and you can see here all these different publishers of academic books. These are university presses. And say you're looking for a book that was published by Fordham University, just for instance. You click on Fordham University Press, and then you can read here. It says Fordham University Press has made selected books and journals available for free on Project Muse. Over 900 books covering art and architecture, business and economics, etc., can be accessed until June 30th. So you know, so if your book was published by Fordham University Press, you know that it might be in Project Muse temporarily. So then you go back to this list, look for Project Muse on the list, click here, log in, and then search for your ebook. So, the three links in this roundup box are very helpful. If you don't find your publisher in the first one, you can try the other two. They both have lists of publishers and where and for how long you can find content. So that's just a handy place to begin. And so I'm going to show you a few of the resources in this guide that we have found helpful for finding ebooks. I'm not going to demo the ones that are individual presses like Duke University Press or MIT Press. Those you can figure out. If you know, if you find that your book was published by one of these publishers and they are on the list as their own entry, you can go straight there to look for the ebook, and hopefully you'll be able to find it. So I'm going to focus on some of the other resources that are here. And I'm going to start out with one that probably is kind of obvious, but still it's helpful. And that is the New York Public Library electronic book collection. So if you click on the link here for NYPL ebooks, you get to this landing page called eBooks Central, and that's what that's kind of the umbrella name they have for their collection of 300,000 ebooks and audiobooks. And these books are every genre and age level, and they have two applications that you need to read them. They have both Simply E, and they also have Overdrive. And if you are going to access the ebooks from their 300,000 book collection, you'd have to use one of these applications, download it to your phone or mobile device to access them. And you can also search for ebooks at the New York Public Library by using their classic catalog in the advanced search mode, and you can limit to ebooks. So you can search by title, author, or subject, limit your results to ebooks, and then find them that way. And the search results will probably lead you to Overdrive, which then you would use to check out the book. They also have magazines and audiobooks, impaired braille and audio reading books, children's books. And then if you scroll a little farther down, you come to this section, ebooks from the scholarly presses. And these include very short introductions, which are great succinct guides to overviews of different topics. They have Project Muse, which we just saw before, University Press, Scholarship Online, and Sage. And you may be wondering, well, it's important. We have some of these at the Graduate Center already. And the thing is that with electronic subscriptions, libraries have different access to titles. So if you are looking for a book that was published by Oxford University Press, for instance, and you look at the GC, at our resources at the Graduate Center, and you don't see it there, you could try the New York Public Library, because they might have different or expanded access for a particular publisher like Oxford than we do at the Graduate Center. So it's good to look there to see if they might have it as well. And as with all of these resources at the New York Public Library, whether you access them in Overdrive or in one of these scholarly press areas or from their A to Z list of databases, you need a New York Public Library card and PIN to access resources remotely. And you can see up at the top here, if you don't have an NYPL card already, you can apply for one through the Simply E app. And if you click on that, you see it's not instantaneous. You might have to wait a few hours, I guess, while they work on your application, but that's how you can get it in a library card if you don't have one. And anyway, once you have a library card, you will be able to access so much fabulous content that we have listed in our A to Z database list and in our individual research guides. And there's so much wonderful content, and for all of it, you'll need, if it's NYPL related, you'll have to use the NYPL card to get it. All right, so that's that one. The next one I wanted to show you in this category, works open due to COVID-19, is a platform called Red Shelf. And I'm going to click here, and this is Red Shelf is an ebook distributor. It's an ebook platform. They have roughly 700,000 digital titles from 400 publishers, including Cambridge University Press, Routledge, NYU Press. And it's got a very simple interface for searching. It's easy to use. You can search by title, or ISBN. And let me just try to, I'm going to just do a quick search. This side of Paradise, see what they've got. Oh, they have Inside Paradise Lost. And as you see here, all right, as you see here, you can see details of the book, and it's available to borrow. I didn't see the book I was looking for, but it doesn't matter. It was just an example of the 63 items. And if you noticed, I was trying to do this quickly, and I didn't put the title in quotes, which I should have done since it was a multi-word title. Anyway, so if you wanted to see information about a book, you can click on View Details. But before you get any further, you have to log in. And you have to create an account if you don't already have one. And when you create an account, you have to use your GC email address for the account. I'm not going to go through that right now, but anyway, if you do choose to borrow a book, you can keep it until May 25th right now. And the thing to know is in Red Shelf, you can borrow only up to 7 books. Our temporary access includes the ability to borrow 7 books, but you can't return them. So you once you borrow them, they're yours for the duration, and you can't give them back. So if you are, this is a good place to find recently published scholarly works, and it's easy to use and it's handy. And you can highlight within the text, and it's got an easy to use platform. But the thing is, you can only have 7 books. So if the exact title you want is not there, don't borrow a few extras just in case, because you'll be stuck with them, and then you won't be able to get the books that you need if you hit that 7 book limit. So it's just something to keep in mind. And this is a good platform for finding recently published scholarly works. Back. I'm going to open another window here. I'm going to go to our, go to our ebooks this way this time. Ebooks guide. And the next one I wanted to show you is a very similar source. It's also under the works temporarily open due to COVID-19. And this one is called Vital Source Bookshelf. And this is another digital content platform. And this one has about 1 million titles. But before you can even search this one, you have to have an account and you have to log in. And you have to create an account with your Graduate Center email address. So I'm going to sign in here. Okay, that worked. And again, you can only have 7 books. And I was doing some practice searching about a week ago, and I borrowed a book, and I figured, oh, if I don't need this book, I'll just give it back. But you can't. You're stuck with every book you borrow until our access ends. So if you want to search, you can click here on Explore. This is the main search area, and it says, explore an expansive catalog of e-texts from participating publishers through May 25th, 2020. Restrictions apply, and that 7 limit is one of them. And you just search here on any titles, and let me just, I'll try again. Not an academic book, but a classic in literature. And they actually don't have the book we were looking for, but plenty of others. And this also is a good place to find recently published scholarly works from a wide variety of publishers. So I like Vital Shelf. I've had good luck finding some ebooks here for different patrons who are looking for them. But again, there is the 7 work limit, so just keep that in mind, and be sure you want to borrow a book before you reach your, in case you hit the 7 limit too fast. So I'm going to go out of this one. Let's see, and then the next one I wanted to show you is probably a familiar source to you, the Internet Archive. And right now they have a special program here. It's called the National Emergency Library, in which they are making available nearly 1.4 million scans of mostly 20th century print books available for unlimited borrowing until June 30th or until the crisis is over. So that's a pretty substantial number of items that you can borrow from here. And under normal circumstances, they have what's known as Open Library. And you can search there for books. You create a free account with actually any email address. It doesn't have to be a GC email address. And then you can borrow books. And if somebody already has a book out, you just get in the hold queue, and then you get an email when it's ready to be borrowed, and you just log in and borrow the book. And you can read them on a variety of readers. So this is a very great tool. I'm just going to do a subject search here, a keyword search on Marxism, and just to show you what it looks like. And so it came up with 657 results, multiple books, and you can see you can borrow all of these books. Some not at the top here, but you will also see open access books that will turn up in the search results, but all of these are available to borrow, which is really, this is a very easy to use platform. And if you're not familiar with it, it really has amazing content. They have audio, video, software, website collections, and other texts. It's a good place to find obscure old journals that have been digitized. So it's an amazing resource. And for finding these ebooks is really helpful. And if you click on something to borrow it, then you log in, you can preview, just flip, and there are different ways you can read books. You can have a one-page view, you can see multiple pages. Yeah, it's a great, very easy to use. And once you see the table of contents, if you think, oh, I definitely want to borrow this book, you just log in and borrow. And for 14 days. So this is an excellent source, and this is a good place, as I said earlier, for finding maybe not the most recently published books, and not necessarily scholarly books, but classics and older, more obscure books may well have ended up here. So this is a good place to look. And then just a couple more to show you. We mentioned earlier Project Muse books. So I'm going to find that one. And if you notice, these lists are in alphabetical order. So I'm going to click here on Project Muse books, temporarily accessed during COVID-19. And to use the databases that are regular GC databases, you have to log in with your network credentials. Okay. And here we are in Project Muse. And when you look at this, you see, and these are books. The content type is checked off and it says books, and it says 26,165 results. And that is only content I have access to. If we click here on all content, you will see that there are over 66,000 titles. And Project Muse ebooks, they have content from 700 journals from 125 publishers, these 60,000 books from more than 100 presses. And so this is a good place to find scholarly books from academic presses. And I'm going to put the limit back here on content that I have access to. And I'm going to just do a search on, again, Marxism. And it came up with, oops, and I'm going to limit to books again. I'm not looking for a specific book, but if I were, I would put the title in quotes. But this is, the results come up, 5,604 results of books with the keyword Marxism in the content. And if one of these is a interest, you can click on the title. You can see a summary of the book. And if you scroll all the way down, you see the bibliographic details. And then each of the chapters you can download and save. So this also is, a very easy to use, clear platform that is easy to follow, and it's been also another very productive place to search for the ebooks people have been asking about. And another thing you can do is look here under publisher, and you can just get an idea of the publishers that are included: Princeton, Cornell, Fordham, University of North Carolina, Russell Sage, all these different presses are here. So this is a really good source, especially for academic titles. All right, and then the last individual one I want to show you is HathiTrust. And that is over here in the regular list, all Graduate Center electronic book collections in alphabetical order. Here we have HathiTrust Digital Library. And when you're using this one, the thing to know is you really have to log in to find the content that, that is available to us. Otherwise, you get limited search results. So I'm going to log in, and you have to choose the Graduate Center from the list of partner institutions. Then you choose Continue, and then you log in. And then here we are, and it says right here, you are logged in, which ensures you get the most out of HathiTrust. And they're open. HathiTrust responds to COVID-19. And I'll show you how you can access the extra content that is available temporarily to us. Let's see. So you can do an advanced catalog search. And if we again choose a subject, let's just do, I'm not looking for a specific book, I'm just looking here for Marxism, oops. And you know what, I'm just going to do that, didn't, I'm going to look for all fields as a keyword. And it's a little bit slow. Okay. Oh no. All right, sorry, it didn't take the, I'm going to start again on this one. Okay, so we have, all right, here we go. I'm going to look for Marxism, all fields, search HathiTrust. Okay, it found 2,165 results in the catalog. Of all of those, only 280 are available as a full view, as opposed to a limited view or search inside. So I'm going to click on full view to see those 280 results. And the first one here, up on the top, there's catalog record, which would ordinarily be all we'd have access to. But right now we have a temporary access to this title. So I'm going to click here on temporary access. And then to, it looks like, all right, I don't see anything. Where do I look at the, where do I find this book? And what you have to do is check out the book. But before we do that, we can read about the limits that are placed on this temporarily available content by clicking here on emergency service. And it says right here under highlights of the service, books currently available to you through the emergency temporary access service have the label temporary access. You can read temporary access books online and can only be read online. You can download one page at a time. You can't download the whole book. And you can check out a book for 1 hour. Your access will renew automatically at the end of the hour unless another user requests the book, and it automatically renews the book. So that is the deal with these books. I'll go back to the book itself, and then if we click here on check out the book, the full book will appear. And this book is 360 pages long. Here's the title, and you page through like a book. It's from 19, I'm going to jump to the middle because there's a lot of preliminary content, and so you can see here is the full text of this book. And you can search within the book, and right here it says this work is checked out to you until 2:40 p.m. and may automatically renew. And with these Hathi Trust books, you can return them early. So I'm going to give this one back in case anyone else wants it. And that's how that works. I don't think it's obvious. It wasn't to me when I first started looking for these temporarily accessible books. And even though there are a few hoops that you have to jump through, this database is very helpful. And sometimes it can be the only place you'll be able to find a specific title. So it's definitely worth looking for a book here if you need it. All right. And then finally, I just wanted to point out the wide variety of other resources that are available in this guide. There are digital access book platforms listed here. And one of them, and I didn't mention this earlier when we were looking at the New York Public Library, but this one right here, Digital Research Books Beta. And this is a cool new innovation that they have, and you can read about it here. And these digital research books are completely free to read, and most of them can be downloaded and kept with no library card required. They're either in the public domain or they are accessible via Creative Commons license. So, so this is a newish kind of source. And if we again do a keyword search on Marxism, 69 results come up. And the thing that I think is exciting about this one is it's not just English. 57 are English, but French, German, Spanish, Czech, Italian, Japanese, Russian, and Yiddish books turn up. And you can read them online, you can download them. And they're not necessarily ancient books either. So we have a pre-copyright 1909 right there, but there's also a 2017 book. So this is a good source to try. And the directory of open access books is worth pointing out as well. And the purpose of this venue here is to increase the discoverability of open access books. And you can search right here in this box or use the advanced search, but you can also browse. You can browse by title, by subject, and by publisher, which is interesting if you are searching for books. You can see all of these different publishers that are here, and they are not just US publishers, they're publishers from around the world. So, so this is good, and it's a handy tool to know about. And also the Library of Congress, they have their own collection of open access books. There aren't that, not a million of them or anything, 592. And you can't really search within this little collection so easily, but you can limit by format. And the interesting thing about this, I think also, is all of the books are post year 2000. So these are available online open access ebooks published after the year 2000 from these different collections and sources. And by subject, you can limit by these different subjects and then browse through the books that way. Read them. So that's the Library of Congress open access offering. And then the last open access one I wanted to show you is this Open Library. And this is open access academic books. And here you can, again, search, or you can browse by subject, publisher, language, or collection. And then, oops, down at the end here, oh, I'm not seeing it now. But they do highlight some of their You can browse by subject, 21st century. And there are 9 books in this category. But of course, you can search, and you can search for specific ebooks too in this. So this is a really great option for looking for open access academic titles. And then also on these lists are, I mentioned earlier, individual publishers, so that you can go straight to Cambridge or Duke, MIT, Oxford, University of California, University of Michigan. Go right to those links and search for ebooks published by those publishers. And then also there are familiar databases on this list. JSTOR, EBSCO, SAGE, Wiley, you know, ones that we're familiar with from our other research. And so really there's so much content available, and the purpose of this workshop is to help you find specific ebooks. So hopefully you'll be able to find them, the ebooks that you need, by using the tools here. But even if you're not able to find the exact ebook that you're looking for, hopefully you'll be able to find another book or two to meet your research needs. So just to, in a nutshell, what we did was, the key to it is take a look at the publisher and date of publication of the book you're interested in. Then select likely sources from this ebooks guide to see, and then search from there using the links in this guide to find the ebooks. And if you need any help, you can reach out to us, and we are happy to help. And so that's it for the highlights. I'm going to let's see. I'm going to turn it back to you, Catherine, okay, and we can take questions at the end or now, however you want to do it.
Okay. Well, I'm still looking. I still have the chat open at the and I do have a new. There is a question actually there from Beth Sherman. And the question is, do we think that access to ebooks will broaden even when the pandemic has passed, or is all this temporary? My guess is that all of this is temporary. I'm sorry to say. I would hope that you know, in our fantasy world, we would see you know, publishers and authors and academics and everyone realizing, oh, well, we all need this information all the time, and we should throw open our collections. But you know, honestly, they're really in the business of making money, and they're going to continue to make money again. Yeah, I think that, yeah, a lot of this is going to get yanked back. And then there's another question on the open access site, symbol of a closed lock. Yeah, that generally does mean that we don't have access to that, or at least that the access is not open to all of the public. Sometimes we may have access as the GC to books that are you know, that aren't open. Well, you may see this actually as we go on, because what I'm about to do is sort of demo a couple of searches, and I think that you're then going to see all of this in action. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is share my screen, share my web browser, okay, which I hope everyone is seeing.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, great. And well, that's annoying. Something annoying. I'm realizing that I can't I can't access the stuff at the top because, all right, that's what I'm gonna have to do. I'm just gonna when I tried to do the stuff at the top, that it's giving me all of these program controls that I don't want. Okay, here you are. Now, something that I found this morning. I was setting up some searches, some so that I would be able to know that I had stuff to show you. Interestingly enough, there are searches that I did 2 or 3 days ago that turn up different things now. So that's just as an alert, as an FYI. What I show you today might not be exactly what's available tomorrow. In some cases, in at least one case, we had more access than I had 2 days ago. In another case, we didn't have access to something that we did have a couple of days ago. So I hope that I have selected the best possible things to show you. But and these are all from requests that people did make to us. And I'm going to start with one that is actually at the GC and show you how to navigate through some of the possible frustrations here. I got a request for a book called More Than Bollywood. Okay, and I'm just going to stick it in there. I'm not going to use the advanced search just for the moment. It does default to it defaults to books anyway, so it's gonna show me the books. Okay, so we have it in the stacks, which does us no good. Now here it says we have full text available. Great. Let's hope that we see the same thing that I saw earlier today. Yep. Now it's going to tell me that there's no full text, which can be, if this is a frustrating thing that is not super unusual on OneSearch at the best of times. OneSearch is pretty good, but it does return some false positives, and it returns also some false negatives. Now there was a note there that said additional options for, use additional options for finding full text. Well, yeah, that didn't really work either. That's frustrating. Okay. Well, I'm going to go back here and look at my publishing information. 2013 suggests that, that's recently enough that there's very likely to be an electronic version. And it's published by Oxford University Press. Well, that's, as a university press, it's one of those presses that has probably, if I go over here, expanded its expanded its offerings, or at least, we have a direct connection to Oxford. So even though the catalog is bringing me to a dead end, I'm going to take a look. I'm going to be now. I have already been logged in here this morning. In the ordinary course of events, I would be asked for my GC credentials at that point. But since I've already given them, they're not asking. Okay, so what was I calling this again? More Than Bollywood. And look, here it is. Do we have access? We have an open lock. That means we do. Now, somebody else had asked about, they may show us things that we don't have access to that are restricted, depending on how you have your search refined. But as a point of fact, we've got this one. We may have this one in the ordinary course of events. I mean, this is quite possibly not a, a COVID release. And it looks like we don't have restrictions. I could download some or all of this. So that was worth just taking a little more of a dig from the information that the catalog gave me. But sometimes you don't even get that. Sometimes, for instance, let's see, I've got, oh, well, something that you will see happening with some frequency these days. I got a request for Jacques Derrida, Writing a Difference. Well, okay. At that point, I actually should have gone to the advanced search, because once I'm in the catalog, it's no longer defaulting to books, which is irritating. But it turns out that the book that I'm looking for is only the second result in the list anyway, of the 2 million results. So, okay, so I'm going to look and see what my versions are. Okay, we have it in French, and we have it in English, and both of them are physical copies. Again, alas. So close, and yet so far. I'm going to look at the record to see, again, the University of Chicago Press, 1978. That edition may, in fact, not have an ebook attached to it. I should mention that the request was for this specific edition, the Alan Bass translation. So I can still maybe find it, but before I start hunting at the University of Chicago Press and through all of those, university press lists, I'm gonna take a look and see if I can figure out whether there's an ebook edition at all. And one of the great tools that we're using for that is WorldCat. If you haven't used WorldCat before, it is exactly what the name sounds like. It is a worldwide catalog from libraries that all belong to this giant consortium. This is where ILL books come from, by and large. So if we don't have a book at the GC, you can try to find it in another place. You would use WorldCat. Now, finding a physical copy, again, not really all that worthwhile. So what I want to do, is find an ebook. Okay, well, here I've got, now this is telling me that it's a print book. It's the same publisher, it's the same year. Well, that actually looks kind of promising, that there's perhaps a 2017 edition as well as the 1978. I'm going to look at all formats, because even though this says print, I now know, after doing many of these searches, that it will always default to the print book, even if there is an ebook. Is that all I've got? Okay, so there are 224. Now I can actually go over here and narrow it to ebooks. Okay, so there is an ebook. This one is published by Routledge. It seems it's the same Alan Bass translation. Terrific. Now, I'm not going to be able to get it through WorldCat. I'm not going to be able to ILL this book. Go away. And that's for that's true for licensing reasons, and it has, it has nothing to do with any of the. But what I can find out from here, sometimes, no, not this one. Sometimes it will actually tell you what libraries hold an ebook or where that that edition can be found. So let's. Oh yeah, okay. It's still saying that it's just a book, even though I asked for this specific edition. Not terrific. So sometimes what I'll get here is a list that will include something like Red Shelf or ProQuest or something that gives me a little bit of a clue as to the next place I want to look. Now, you would think that if it was available in ProQuest, that maybe it would have come up in our OneSearch, since we do have a subscription to ProQuest. If we don't have a specific subscription that includes that book, no, it isn't going to come up in OneSearch. Even if expanded access would give us that book, it's not going to come up in OneSearch right now. Because as Donna mentioned earlier, where's my, here. All of these trial, temporary access databases, they're not getting put into OneSearch. That is just, it would be a giant amount of work for this really very limited time. But what I am going to do, what I could do at this point, I could look at the University of Chicago Press. I could look at Routledge, but I'm going to skip that step for now, just for the purposes of time, because where I did actually find this book in the end was at that Internet Archive. So I'm going to open up. I don't know if you can actually see my my bookmarks as I'm going through them, but I do have lots and lots of these things bookmarked in my own, on my own computer, so I can organize them the way my brain works. Okay, but here I am at the National Emergency Library. Now, the National Emergency Library is sort of dubiously legal. What they've done is pretty awesome. They've just, they have all of these books, 1.3 million books, most of which have been scanned. They are not ebooks that the library has purchased. They are books that either volunteers or people at the Internet Archive have scanned. So in ordinary times, they can't lend those books out. Like, there are copyright laws that say they can't do that. The copyright laws may still say that they can't do that. Donna, did you want to say something? No. It's not actually completely clear. They have decided to ask forgiveness rather than permission. And they just threw all of this stuff open, which is pretty, it is an amazing resource, but don't expect it to be here for very long.
Catherine, just to jump in, there's a good Publishers Weekly article featuring Brewster Kahle, the founder of the Internet Archive, talking about his efforts, their efforts to make exactly that. They're pushing the copyright envelope because they think it's fair use in this time when all the libraries and schools are closed. So they believe it's fair use to offer these to people.
And it isn't, that isn't without merit, that argument. I mean, they could, they have maybe one leg to stand on. On the other hand, lots and lots of authors, particularly, I would say, mid-list authors who have who may actually depend on book sales for their livelihood, but who do not have, mega deals with publishers, um, uh, feel deeply betrayed and hurt by this. Anyway, that is the reason actually that one of those books, I think it's the reason, one of those books I was talking about earlier that I reran a search and suddenly it wasn't there. Those authors do have the option of contacting the Internet Archive and asking them to take their books down. And I think that has happened. Okay, so here it is, Writing Indifference. I can, I could log in and borrow this book. I'm not going to. But the difference between what the Internet Archive is, one difference between what the Internet Archive is doing and what something like NYPL does. NYPL has a certain number of each book, and they have, contracts with publishers that say we can only lend this book for time, for at a time. And if 4 copies are out, then it's going to be a hold, just as if it was a physical book. Donna, can I ask you one favor? And that is, now that I am doing my browser sharing, I can't see the chat anymore.
Yes,
So
I've been watching. Thank you.
okay, good. Thank you. So anyway, that's the Internet Archive, at least for the moment. I tend to look earlier at the Internet Archive from for books that are more recent, but not, within the last 5 years. Books from like the 90s and early 2000s. They're less likely to have an ebook edition from the publisher. And the thing about the Internet Archive is that's not what you're looking at here. You're looking at scanned copies of, again, dubious legality. Okay, now another. So okay. Speaking of NYPL, I think that's probably. Whoops! I actually meant to do this. GC library. Okay. Let me go to use that advanced search. So just take a look for a second. All right, let me do this one. I'm probably grayed out, but here I am. Okay. Again, looking for Olive CUNY, again, doesn't help us. So let's narrow it to the GC, make this the title. This is one, this title. I'm somewhat surprised that we actually didn't have this, but it seems like a GC kind of title, but this, I'm gonna narrow it down to books. I have an author's name, I have a title, I'm gonna be hopeful. And this is gonna go slowly. Why is this not going? Oh, I see. I just didn't, nope. GC doesn't have it. Okay, how am I going to find it? Well, again, let me go to WorldCat first. And there it is. Search books. Right. Very recent book. Seems likely that there'll be an ebook. I'm gonna take a look. And there it is. Yep, right away. I know that there's an ebook. And now I can't, like I said, can't ILL this. But look here, it's on overdrive. So that tells me that it is at there are copies at libraries. Overdrive is a library app. And what library had that library app? Well, unfortunately it's telling us that there are a whole bunch of CUNY libraries that have it, including that claims that GC has it, which it doesn't. But for those who are really on the ball from previous, when Donna was talking, Overdrive is one of the programs that's used by the New York Public Library. I'm going to take a look at that. I'm going to go there first because, whoops. Okay, that's strange. Here we go. I'm going to do that advanced search because I don't actually want to see every copy that the public library has. Because the only format I want is an ebook. And look here, woohoo! It's here. I'd have to place a hold because New York Public Library is not pushing the copyright envelope, and they are they're maintaining their their peacetime borrowing. So at this point, I might, if I'm doing the search for somebody else, I might just tell them it's at the library. You can go. You can put a hold on it. If I were the person who wanted this book, I would probably take that one more step and look at the Internet Archive, or even maybe take a look at Red Shelf. I didn't look at Red Shelf earlier, so something I do want to tell you about Red Shelf, and I'll do it this way. For Red Shelf, like all of the other things that come up, for all of the other databases that we have in our, if you just find it in a Google search, look, it doesn't know that you're coming from a university. It doesn't know that you're looking for, their special offer. You have to go through that link that we got. I'm gonna just take a look here, see if it's in there. No. I might find it at the Internet Archive, but I don't actually want to spend too much more of our time just looking around. I want to show you maybe one more search. Let's see. And then, okay, so I'm gonna search. I'm gonna clear this search. There is a book, another book from, all right, this title, okay. The Bonds of Love. Just one books. I'm not going to bother putting in the author because I feel pretty confident. look, we have it. No, we don't. We have it as a physical book. I mean, even if it was checked in, we would not be able to get it. All right, let me go back here into the record just to see information is Pantheon Books. Not necessarily a scholarly press, so my first instinct isn't to go to JSTOR or Project Muse. With something from 1988, I might look at the Internet Archive, but what I'm actually going to, I'm again shortcutting this, skipping the step of actually looking at all of the places because I happen to know that where I can actually find it is, is HathiTrust. And I'm going to go back to my ebook collections page. Go. Again, this is something that we always have access to, so it's not a trial. However, we currently have access to books that we ordinarily don't. But a very important thing to remember about this, I am logged in here. Donna already, oh wait, no, it says I've been logged out. So before I even do this, I'm going to log back in. Yeah. My partner institution. Graduate school. And I have to log in as me. I am not nearly as careful as Donna is, and I allow my web browser to save information. Now, I'm going to search for that title again. Now, here, I search for only full view items. And look, I've got it. This is one of those temporary access books. The important thing to know about this temporary access is we only have access to those books in HathiTrust that we own physical copies of. Does that make sense? If we didn't have a physical copy in the Graduate Center or available to Graduate Center students, we would not be able to get temporary access through HathiTrust. That's how they've chosen to walk the copyright line. What they've said is, this exigent circumstance means that you don't have access to this physical copy that you already own and have paid for. Therefore, fair use should allow us to give you this access. But they're not saying fair use gives us the right to give an access to this book to anyone who would like to use it. Now, actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to unshare myself for a moment and ask if anybody has a book that they are interested in finding, and I'll just try to do it. I'll just try to do a little no, is this not? So if you can ask me either in the chat or if you could unmute yourself, give me a title. We'll see what we can do. Anybody got anything? I'm gonna stop sharing my browser. I can look at. Oh, come on, someone must have something. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is go into our list. We have an ongoing list. I might as well be sharing my browser again. All right, so.
Oh, Catherine, we just got an example shared in the chat.
Oh, good. All right, but what can somebody give it to me, because I can't see the chat and my web browser at the same time.
I can give it to you, but be forewarned, the first two words are not English.
Okay.
It is, the first word is memoria, like memorial, but with no L. And the second word is Romana, Roman with an extra A at the end.
Okay.
And there's a subtitle, but that's quite possibly enough.
Yeah, let's see if that's enough. Well, I think we are going to need a little more than that.
Okay, the rest of it is memory in Rome and Rome in memory.
It's quite lovely. All right. Yeah. Nope. Okay. So we do not have it at the Graduate Center. That crosses HathiTrust off our possibilities. I'm gonna go to WorldCat. This is always the first thing that I do, because I want to get a sense of whether there is an ebook right away. And also this will tell me, okay, University of Michigan Press. Oh, good. Is it conference publication? Oh, and there is an ebook. Okay, there is an ebook. It's University of Michigan Press. I happen to know that the University of Michigan Press is offering a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going to go back to here. Ebook only. Now I'm going to search by the title. All right, fingers crossed. Hey, there it is. Okay, so this is the hardcover version. Let's see if they have a link to the. Just on the hardcover version. Okay, so maybe that's not the. Let me see. Let me see if I look in here. University of Michigan Press. What is it saying? It says it's made all of its books free to read until April 30th. So it's possible that I needed to go through that link, because this actually looks quite different, doesn't it? Let's sort by. Okay, and I also see us up there. Okay. Take that off. Access lasers, phone plan. I'm sure that we are registered. All right. I wonder if Fulcrum is the longest. This is where we are. I don't know. Any ideas from, I was so hopeful for that couple of minutes. Let me look at the author, look at it with the author's name. That shouldn't make a difference, but sometimes it does. Galinsky. Oh, that's an editor. But... All right, University of Michigan. Galinsky. Very strange. Not crazy, is it? That's University of. No, it's. All right. Well, you know what? Just because WorldCat says there's an ebook doesn't mean there's an ebook. It could be. I'm going to go back here and just look at this. Aha. Yes. Okay. There's one school that's listing this as a link to this item, and that makes me suspect that, yeah. Okay, what's actually getting linked is probably an internal scan, but it looks like there's lots of the text in here. Wonderful. I don't know how or why this worked. It didn't come up at the University Press, but it is coming up in JSTOR, but it's coming up in JSTOR. I'm not going to complain.
Catherine, I did a couple of searches for patrons in the ebook search request form and had the same unusual JSTOR quirk come up. And so it's something to be aware of as a last resort, but looking for these titles in the usual channels does not turn up any results, but somehow this can on occasion turn up a result. So I guess it just points out that you just have to be flexible and just try different things.
Yes, absolutely. Another thing that, I mean, since you bring up, that's actually the last thing that I was going to talk about was the tricky results for books where you just have to poke until you find it. I had a book the other day. It was called World Made Meme, and I know that GC doesn't have it. Went here into WorldCat. I'm going to and I found the book here, and I was really excited. The MIT Press, that seems like it would have it, but it didn't. I went to the MIT Press site. I poked around. I found the record of the book. It was not a book that was open. The way that I actually managed to find this book, or a version of this book, was by looking in ProQuest dissertations. This book, it turns out, is the probably revised and expanded version of this guy, Ryan Milner's, I assume it's a guy, this person, Ryan Milner's PhD dissertation. And that is available. And it's not exactly perfect, but it was enough to make the person who needed it happy. So yeah, sometimes you just have to look in places that aren't immediately apparent, that don't maybe make immediate sense, that that don't come up in the searches, and that's the hard part. I think that, those of us who are doing this for, a few hours a day, are learning all of these, um, I don't know, shortcuts and long cuts. And I've told people whose books I could not find as ebooks, try contacting the author. If this person is uh, a PhD who has a scholarly book out, they want you to have it. I mean, I would want you to have my book, even if I had to send it to you. It's worth doing. And academics are easier to contact than lots of ordinary citizens. We are at our 2:30 mark. Maybe now is the time to look at some questions. I'm going to stop sharing that web browser so that I can see. There is a conversation going on there. Yep. Okay, interlibrary loan, yes. Now, the thing about getting interlibrary loans, even of book chapters, we're relying on that chapter having already been digitized. You can't get an interlibrary loan of a full ebook for licensing reasons. There was a brief moment when we were having a conversation. Well, can you interlibrary loan the scan of a full book? But it quickly became apparent that there wasn't going to be anybody in the libraries to do the scanning. So that stopped really being a question. And again, because there's nobody in the libraries to do the scanning, books that you would almost certainly be able, oh, that's a good thing to know. Beth has just said some publishers do allow entire ebooks to be shared, but very few. So I guess it's probably worth, it's worth a question. Okay, do we have anything else from anybody? I mean, I'm sure you do actually have plenty of questions, and questions that aren't occurring to you yet, but that you might have come up later. Remember that we're available. I'm going to put actually my email into the chat.
Catherine, it's Jill. Do you mind if I chime in with just a couple of comments and one question for you and Donna? So, hi everyone, I'm Jill. I'm also a librarian here working on the hunt for ebooks. One of my comments was actually going to be something that Catherine just said, which is I have also had luck finding the dissertation version of, or the dissertation that spawned the book. And when we couldn't find the book, and sometimes comparing that to whatever preview is available in Amazon or Google Books will let you know how close or far away it is from the published book. But the people who I have found the dissertation for have been pleased with that. So often it will satisfy your information need if you don't need to see that exact version. Also, in sites like RedShelf, Vital Source, and especially the Internet Archive National Emergency Library, searches for a simplified version of the title often succeed when putting in the full title fails. So I have learned in those sites to do only what comes before the colon, because there were things I found using the shortened version and not using the full version.
I have found that sometimes just removing the colon.
Yes, that too.
Bring that up because they haven't put the colon into their metadata.
Yes, some searches do very badly with punctuation in general. And I also wanted to let everybody know that in the requests that have come to us some of them for, sort of, let's say like recent scholarly press books, some of them for very obscure older books, but all told, we've had, I think our success rate is between like 50 and 60% of finding the ebook or what the person needs. Now, of course, if you start sending us all the things you try to find and then want us to failed and want us to double check using all of our librarian wiles, then our success rate might go way down because we'll be getting like the really hard ones. But we are finding it a fair amount of the time. So we are working in a limited world, but it's more robust than you might think. And now my question for you, Catherine and Donna, is, do you know if the expanded access to Project Muse that we have is the same as what NYPL has, or is there some things that might be in their Project Muse and not in ours? Have you determined that yet?
This is Donna speaking. I have not been able to tell, but of course I haven't been looking either. I've been looking for specific items and I've tried different places, but I have not compared our access with NYPL's.
Okay. Ordinarily, for those, ordinarily we do have a difference there. They have books and we don't, but now we have expanded access, but we don't quite know the contours of that.
Yes, and those contours are not completely searchable, unfortunately.
Right, one search does not.
Right, one search
does not know about all this.
Right, and even I spent a bunch of time trying to create a custom Google search for some of the sites with expanded access, and it really just didn't work at all for a couple of those sites.
It was a good idea.
It was worth a try. Okay. I think that we should probably wrap up and sign off. Remember that we are, we're available through the library website. Ask a Librarian is around 24/7. It won't necessarily be one of us, but you will get a librarian. There's a directory on the site where you can find a subject specific librarian who can probably do a more specific job of searching for you or with you. Anything? Any last questions or any last comments? Okay. All right.
Put the URL for the library's online services in the list of chat. And yes, we're happy to help. If anybody has any questions, please let us know. And you can use our ebook detective service if you need any help finding books.
Thank you all.